Congresswoman Letlow, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, today is an important day for our farmers and ranchers in that you have now filed a bill, the the Drought Assistance Improvement Act. Why was it important for you to introduce the Drought Assistance Improvement Act, and how do you hope it will help farmers and ranchers in Louisiana?
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Avery, and letting me talk about this bill. It's no secret that we faced some incredible drought numbers this year, and it really hurt our farmers and producers. I heard from so many of them just during those really difficult months that we had to endure in Louisiana. And so, we really thought, how can we put our heads together and try to improve a program that seems to not be fulfilling its promise to our producers and farmers? And how can we expedite a process that seems to be lagging? And so we brought forth this Drought Assistance Improvement Act. And what it's going to do is it's going to work with the Livestock Forage Disaster Program that requires cattle producers to be at a level of severe drought for 8 consecutive weeks to qualify for 1 month of disaster relief. And you and I both know that 8 weeks is a long time to make it to that requirement. And so what we're trying to do is expedite that if a farmer producer is at severe drought levels for 4 weeks, then those payments are automatically triggered. They kick in by the U.S. Drought Monitor. If they're at that 4-week level, they get that 1 month's payment. And then if they go on to another 4 weeks consecutive severe drought, then they get another month's pay. So we're just trying to expedite a process. It's just really hard on our farmers and producers if those payments aren't triggered at that 4-week mark and they have to wait to the 8 weeks. And then say they went down from a severe drought level to back to a D1 right at that 7th week, they wouldn't qualify for any payment. And so we really just want to do everything we can to protect them, make sure they're getting the assistance that they need because they do so much for us.
Yeah, it's sort of a common sense approach. I mean, that's what President Jim Harper said with Louisiana Farm Bureau, that it's common sense. If you have 4 weeks of drought, wouldn't it make sense to have 1 month of payment at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. You would think we would have more common sense approaches in government. In my short tenure here, I'm learning that is not always the case. But I think that my constituents are counting on me to find ways to make it easier on them, less red tape, less government interference, and provide more assistance whenever it is truly needed. And we have this saying around here: while I can't guarantee rain, but if this bill passes, I can guarantee swift relief assistance and a swift relief in expediting the process for our farmers who, again, give us so much of their time and commitment to making sure that we're all fed. So I'm going to do everything I can to get this across the finish line.
What are you hearing from your farmers and ranchers in the district about the need for disaster programs that work better for our crops here in Louisiana and our growing season?
Sure, that it just needs to be an easier process. They want to make sure that, God forbid, if we have natural disasters, if they have to rely on that disaster aid, that it's going to be there. We have a farm bill coming up. I know I don't have to tell you that. So there are things that we can do to modify that, to make it easier for our farmers to get that assistance, again, whenever they need it. God forbid you have to go through something like that, but that's a part of the nature of farming. And so we want to make sure that they are protected. So I just hear that from them. They want to make sure that all of the policy is in place for them to be able to easily qualify, applications run smoothly. The federal government is doing its job at making sure that we're processing all of their requests so that we can just make sure that they're taken care of.
In Louisiana, we love our crawfish boils, and you can't have a crawfish boil without crawfish. And we have crawfish, wild caught crawfish, but we also have a lot of crawfish farmers, and it's a uniquely Louisiana commodity. Why did you think it was important to have drought protection under ELAP for our crawfish farmers?
Well, it's so important that they be included as well, because as you know, water is huge for our crawfish industry, and a drought truly affects them as well. So we wanted to add drought as an adverse weather condition for farmed raised fish, and that includes crawfish, which is huge for Louisiana, but also huge for my district is catfish. And so they should not be excluded from ELAP. And I just want to make sure that drought is covered in there as well, because it affects them. So they should qualify. So I was ecstatic to include that as well.
Let's talk about the relationship with Farm Bureau and your staff. How closely did you and your staff work with Louisiana Farm Bureau on this? Because as Amelia Kent said, it was this addressed some of the issues that were coming directly out of the Livestock Advisory Committee.
Yeah, absolutely. We work lockstep with Farm Bureau. We are committed to building those partnerships, those relationships with President Jim Harper's wonderful. Can call him anytime, but also his amazing team. Anytime we have questions, concerns, they bring them to us. We bring them to them. It really is a true partnership. It's been so incredibly helpful to me. I say it every time I'm on here, but my background is not in agriculture. And so I rely heavily on Farm Bureau to advise me and make sure that I am being a true champion for the agriculture community up here in Washington. Also sit on the Ag Approach Subcommittee, which is huge for our state. And I want to make sure that I'm fighting for funding that is so necessary for ag causes in Louisiana. And I can't do that without that partnership with the Farm Bureau. So I can't say thank you enough for all that you do to advise us.
Obviously, in some parts of Louisiana, especially in your district, the largest row crop district in the country, as go farmers, go those rural communities. If our ranchers and our farmers don't get timely assistance, that can trickle down to the rest of the community. Tell me a little bit about how you hope this bill will help prevent some of that.
Sure. Well, I heard from my farmers and ranchers during the drought, and it really does affect their livelihoods. Some of them were so concerned that they might even possibly lose their farms. And that's heartbreaking to hear, especially when there's something that we can do about it. And if it's a matter of timeliness and efficiency, then that's where I come in on the government side to make sure that we're doing our part. And a matter of 4 weeks and 8 weeks could literally be the amount of time to save an operation. And so it really does have a trickle down effect. When we start talking about livelihoods, we start talking about whole communities that are affected if one farm goes under. So I heard them loud and clear. We put our heads together to try to find a solution, and I'm going to be pushing this as much as I possibly can to help them out. So
What happens now? The bill's filed. Where does it go from here? Pending there's no government shutdown.
sure. So now we have the monumental task, but I am determined to go get as many co-sponsors as I possibly can. I am a gregarious person. I've made a lot of friends up here, so I'm going to go to as many of them as I can find and share with them about why this is a great bill, why it's going to help our farmers and producers, our cattlemen. But I'm also going to go first and foremost to my ag committee friends and make sure that they're aware of it, so that hopefully they will take up this legislation, move it through committee, through the right process, and see if we can get it all the way through. It's a home run in my eyes, and now it's just a matter of convincing everybody else that it's the same. But that's where Farm Bureau can come in and also help as well, working with other members and making sure that they're aware of it. And call in to your congressmen and women and share your concerns, and we can get it across the finish line.